Hey, are you looking for new opportunities to get your books in the hands of new readers? Well, join us on Reality Coaching today, where Eddie Jones, hey Eddie, and I are going to offer you a unique and different way to do that. Reality Coaching for Writers, where Eddie?
Nothing but the real stuff, no fluff. So
That's right. That's right. And Eddie, you're the one that has this unique opportunity. You've been using it for quite a while. So I'm interested in you unpacking it for our listeners. I've had the privilege of partnering with you once, and I want to do it more in the future. So tell us how you came up with this idea and the approach that writers can take.
Well, first off, I can't take credit for the idea. It was something that the Lord laid on my heart over a year ago. And like most of the things that when he speaks to me, I'm very slow to react and be obedient. This just is the way, it's just the way I've rolled for the years. And I don't know that it's hindered the expansion of the kingdom, but I know it's certainly been just a habit of mine. So anyway, it was about a year ago. I was at a conference. We were talking about marketing books, and we all, as writers, we all have the same issue. It's like, well, how do we get our books in front of readers, the readers we want to get in front of? And that's the question authors keep asking. So we talk about Amazon ads and social media and BookBub and just all these things that we've done. And at some point in all of that, the Lord spoke to me and said, do you have any idea how much money you are wasting? My money you are wasting promoting your books. And I went, yeah, I know how much money we're spending. I know. He said, well, I wish you would stop. Wish you would stop. You're wasting my money. And I was like, well, okay, but what do I do? He said, and this is what he revealed to me, Diana. He said, you have really good seed, Eddie. Your books are good. There's no doubt about it. He said, but you are casting your seed into a forest where there are already lots of trees and lots of undergrowth and lots of things that are already growing, and your seeds never have a chance to reach the good soil and grow. They're never going to prosper in that field. He said, that's the book market today, and that's where you're casting your seed. And I went, again, well, yeah, Lord, I know that. I know that. I've been experiencing that. He said, cast your seed into the field where it's fertile and there's no competition. I was like, where's that? He said, the prisons. And I was like, yeah, but they can't write reviews. Don't know who they are. And it's going to cost money. And he said, I didn't say anything about any of that. I just told you where to cast the seed.
Wow.
So again, that was a year ago. And so I sat on that because I was like, I don't even understand how to make that work. I mean, I don't really get that, right? And so, I kept kind of dabbling at trying to make the old way work. And finally, the last few months, I finally said, all right, now I get it. I mean, what you're not going to prosper where I'm doing what I'm doing now. And rather than spend $100, $150, $200 a month on Amazon ads that aren't going to generate any more sales than what they're generating already, which is none. I'm going to go with the inmates. I'm going to go with people that, don't get to read books. Part of it, Diana, I've got a friend of mine. He's in a facility right now, and I go visit him about once a month. We talk every week on the phone. He's able to call out. And he told me, he said, in this camp, he said 95% of the inmates never have any contact with the outside world, none. He said they don't get a visitor, they don't get a phone call, they don't get mail, they are just lost. He said the men in this camp who are with him, that's their family. That's the only family they have.
Wow.
And so I knew that, he's telling me, I'm hearing this, and yet I'm still kind of sitting on this, not doing anything about it. And I was like, all right, well, I can send a book. I do believe in this little devotional book I wrote almost 15 years ago now, and I'm not doing anything with it. And it's got the words of the Father and the Son in it, and the nice little stories, encouraging stories. I said, I'm just going to start having these shipped into the prisons. So that's what I'm doing. And I tell authors that, worst case scenario is you spend money sending Jesus into the prison to minister to somebody. That's the worst case scenario.
Yeah, yeah.
Worst case. Best case scenario, you do that and your book pops in this category of whatever category it's in, so other people can find the book, and you may sell a few additional copies that you wouldn't have sold otherwise, and your name is out there because suddenly your book is in the top 100 of a category, and it's consistently in that category. And after a while, people go, "Who is this guy? I mean, I've never heard of Eddie Jones. How is he able to stay in the same category as Max Lucado or Phil Yancey or something, for example, right? Who is this guy?" And they click on your name and they go, "Oh, okay, he writes pirate stories and he writes, middle grade mystery stories." So they learn a little bit about you. And anyway, that's the short of it so far.
Well, and Eddie, books have so impacted my own life. Since I was a child, books have mentored me. They've inspired me. They've done so much for me. And I think of prisoners in all ages because you also have your books. You get the name of young people in, juvenile centers, delinquent centers. And I think, not only are they bored often, so they're more likely to pick up a book that arrives to them specifically with their name on it. But also that's the opportunity for the words that were penned by someone that has eternal life in them to transfer that life to another, person and stir up their heart and begin that God conscious stirring in their soul, so I just love this. But my question is, where do you find the names of the prisoners?
Yeah, so it's actually pretty easy. The North Carolina Department of Correction, there's a website, and you just pull up the website, and every inmate that's in North Carolina is listed as either active or inactive or paroled. And you just, pull up their name, you just pull up a name, and you've got their inmate number, you've got their camp number, you generate the name, the inmate number, and the camp number, the address, and then you just ship them a book. And there's no way, in North Carolina, you can't send books or letters to inmates directly. They banned that because of contraband. So if an inmate wants to receive a book, it has to come from the publisher or a bookseller directly.
Right.
So that actually works out really well because it addresses the issue some people have of, well, I don't want an inmate to know where I live. Well, they're not, because it's going to come from Amazon. They don't even know who you are. They don't know who sent the book. They have no idea. Mm-hmm. So from their perspective, it literally almost looks like God just dropped a book in their lap. That's about the way it looks at it from the inmate's perspective.
I love that. I love that. And I know you have used your social media to send out the question to other people if they'd like to participate, and they can private message you, and then you will send them the name of a prisoner. And sometimes, Eddie, you pay for the book, but other times, if the people are willing to do it, they can pay for the book. So I know many of your books are reasonably priced, and it's an easy alms, ALMS, alms giving opportunity to, especially, I think the one most recently that you helped me connect with was somebody in juvie, in a juvenile. So young man.
Yeah, so that was my initial approach with doing this anyway, was to reach the youngest inmates I could first, because I forgot how you pronounce this word. Anyway, recidivization or whatever it is.
Recidivism. Yeah.
It's pretty high. I mean, like I said, from what I've learned, I mean, the way my friend explains it, he said, if a young man goes to prison, comes into a camp the first time, he comes in because he thought he was going to be able to commit a crime and get away with it. And he found out he couldn't. He said, and what he learns in camp is how to do it better. He said that's what he learns. He said he gets into this camp, and the guys who in theory know how to do it better teach him all the things that he did wrong. So next time go do this and this and this. Of course, they're back in prison too, right? So they're not the brightest ones in the world, but so now the young guy goes out thinking he can get away with it even better next time. And so once I heard that, I was like, well, my goal is going to be to hit the young guys first and give them the word of God first and these encouraging stories. And maybe maybe it'll change their heart when they get out. They go, I do not want to go back there ever again, never, And so, and that's part of it. But yeah, the recommendation I have for authors are, first, find a way to create a really short book. I mean, like thin, like 80, 70 pages, not very many pages, so that you can price it on Amazon for under $5. I price it at $4.99. So that when you ship the book out, at least you're making some money on the book. You're not going to make a lot. You might make 30 cents, you might make 40 cents, but if you make 30 cents on a paperback book, that's the same as if you sold a 99-cent Kindle book. Okay, right. So it's you're not making a ton, but you're making some. And like I said, for me, it's hit the young crowd first, but you don't have to if that's not your market. If it's older women, then write for older women.
Right.
And what I've told every author I've pitched this to, and again, Diana, I enjoy making the pitch. I just haven't had a whole lot of authors that have latched onto it yet, because I think they go, well, I don't have the book and I'm not sure that's going to work and I don't want to spend the money. There's a lot of hurdles that people have to get beyond. But if you're a fiction writer and you don't even have a nonfiction book, what I say is give your fiction readers a small, short devotional book based on the characters of your books, for example, just with God's word written into it, and then send that into the camp, into the prisons, right? Just send that little devotional book into the prisons. And Swanee, I think that if you do that, God will still bless it. That your fiction readers are going to come back and go, oh, here's a devotion book based on the characters in the series that Diana's been writing in all these years. I'd love to read that. And next thing you've got a little devotional out there that's selling.
Well, and some people might say, well, this seems like my question, the way you're doing this. So you're actually giving something, but expecting something in return. But I would say this is the economy of heaven. This is the way God's economy works. He always says, cast your bread out on the water. It's going to come back to you. So it's not like the motive is a good, God instructs us to care for those that are imprisoned. He mentions it in Hebrews 13, and many argue, well, that was the imprisoned believers. But he echoes it again in Matthew 25, and he's not talking about believers there. We are to think of those that are imprisoned. And it's one way to get access to just touch the lives of somebody. But it is that principle that when you cast your bread out on the water, it comes back. It's just God's economy. It's the way he does things.
Yeah, I've never been bothered at all about the fact that if that doing this increases the sales ranking and keeps my book in a category, that doesn't bother me at all, because in the kingdom of Jesus, he turned water into wine and made it really good wine, and people enjoyed the wine. And they weren't prisoners, and they weren't destitute. They weren't having a hard day. No, they enjoyed the wine. And this was from people that were in the winemaking business. So after that wedding was over, they went back making wine and making money selling wine. So no, it's the way I look at it, 80% of what this little marketing thing is, the benefit of 80% of it is going to the inmates. You may get 20% of a benefit from it on the back end, maybe. But again, if you look at it from the perspective of what do I get out of it, I would say probably you're going to be disappointed. If that's what you're looking at, you're probably going to be disappointed, because we're always disappointed in our marketing efforts, no matter what it is, right? But if you
Yeah.
look at the perspective of, in my case, I think like 25 or 35 men have received a book since the first of the year. I don't have a goal, but Diane, if at the end of the year I can say 500 men received a copy of my book, and of that, I'm going to say 5% gave their life to Christ. At the end of the year, I go, I don't know what else I did, but I know I did that. And I know there are going to be some guys that come up to me and go, I got your book, man. I got your book.
Well, and one soul, the word tells us, is worth all the world, I mean, so I find that as an agent, I used to have conversations over and over again with authors about even doing any book promotion or any marketing, because they felt it was bragging on themselves, or, but the point is, if God gives you words and they get into book form, you do that work, you get it into book form, then the intent is to find readers. The intent is for your book to be read, for it to be able to touch someone's life, to make a difference. So we need to lay aside that, I call, some people say, well, that's not humility or humble, but it's again, I just keep going back to God's economy. He wouldn't give you something, a gift, and then you write a book if it was meant to just go back in the drawer. It's.
I think there's a reason why Jesus went to all the trouble to say, do not hide your lamp under the bed. I think there's a reason he had to say that. Apparently there was an attitude among the believers of what you just said. Oh, well, if I'm following Jesus, I don't want to be the Messiah. I don't want somebody to think I'm the Messiah, because we've heard about John the Baptist. Well, I'm not him. So there's a whole mentality of, oh, I don't want to take the glory for myself. I think Jesus had to stop and go, look, shine your light. You've got me in you. Shine your light. I think he had to tell them that. So this is, part of what we're doing. And to your point, we had an individual Sunday down at Moore Square. This is the second time this has happened. It's the first time it's happened with me, though. I've been praying for her for over a year. And she's one of the few people that when I went down there very early, God gave me a vision of who he saw her someday in the future. And I kept that to myself. But I've been praying for her. And every time I see her, I tell her, I said, I love you and Jesus loves you. Sunday, she sat beside me on the back of my car, my copper top. And we went through the sinner's prayer, and she said yes to all the questions. And she gave her life to Christ. And there were 3 of us, and we laid hands on her and we prayed with her. And I told our guys last night at the Bible study at Moore Square, I said, there is no more joy than knowing that there's one more person that and you care about in the kingdom of heaven. I said, that is the treasure in heaven, as far as I'm concerned. That's what I think that means, the treasured by your right hand. They're people. So for me, this is a book marketing approach for me to sell more books and have more people read my book. Yeah, that's true. But I'm absolutely convinced when those people come up to me in heaven and go, hey, I got your book. Because of this, I gave my life to Christ. I'm going to cry. I'm just going to cry. I know that. So I think your motivation needs to be for the right reasons. And you have to be willing to say, I'm going to, whatever I was going to spend on Amazon ads this year, I'm going to spend it on books going to the prison. Worst case scenario, somebody reads my book that's not reading it now. And again, from an author's perspective, what do we want to do? We want people to read our stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love this. I love this so much. My son has been imprisoned several times due to his mental health issues. And I so appreciate every person that writes him a letter, that, sends them a card, or has done anything for him when he's in there, as well as pray for those that work in the prison that are actually kind and compassionate. And I think all too often we think we can get a judgment type mentality where we feel, whether in there because they're guilty and they shouldn't have any privileges and we shouldn't make it too comfortable for them. But, there go I, but by the grace of God. And I just think that the word, twice we read in the word that Christ instructs us, to remember those in prison. And it's under the list of brotherly love. It's under, different headings in here, but he reminds us because it's so easy to forget those in prison. So I just love this program, Eddie. And how can we remind us again, in each state, in Pennsylvania, it's the same way, by the way, we're no longer able to mail books.
Yeah, I would just, at the end of this episode, we'll put my email address. If anybody's got questions on how to do this, just email me and I'll walk the process of what I'm doing. And, it's not rocket science. Again, it's, you get a book that you can get priced at $4.99. You reach out to people and say, I'll send you the $5.50 gift card because you got to pay the tax. And if you got an Amazon Prime account, which is key, that's key to this program. If you've got a Prime account, then you're not going to pay shipping. And the book's going to sell, cost for $5. There's 50 cents tax. You get a gift card for $5.50. It doesn't cost you anything as the consumer to buy the book and ship it into the prison. Nobody knows it came from you. And the author is just paying $5.50 to ship a book in. And, budget, you can say, I'm going to spend $25 a month to ship 5 of my books into the prison. Again, worst case scenario, you got 5 people reading your book that weren't reading it before. But if you spend $25 on Amazon ads and don't sell any books, it's the same money either way,
And you're investing in a life,
Yeah.
And so now, Eddie, you offer 2 options for people with your books. You offer that you send the Amazon gift card to them, or you also allow people to just participate and you send them the name of the prisoner and the link so that, like, I can pay for a book. It could become part of my joint ministry where I'm partnering with you, correct?
Right. Yeah. But over half the time even after I send the cards, people go, I wish you hadn't sent me the card. I don't need the card. I'm happy to do that. But
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. But, I don't want to ask people to do this for my benefit. I mean, again, this is my book and it's, the sales ranking is going to benefit me. So I don't want to have I'm not asking people for favors. Other than the Amazon Prime account. And the reason the Amazon Prime account is key, and the reason I want to spread this out is because the algorithm on Amazon is after somebody's bought a book one time, if they buy a second copy, it doesn't count in the sales algorithm. So there is that tangible benefit to it. And so I felt the first time I was like, well, I could just keep doing this myself. But then the Lord also said, yeah, you could, but why not share this with other people and let other people participate in it and let them know that they are helping send a book to prison. And it was, Diana, it was almost like that thing where Satan was saying, okay, you need to just do it this way because, and the Lord's like, no, share it. I know you're going to benefit a little bit on the back end, but share it so that other people understand what's going on and maybe they'll be motivated. They find a Max Lucado book, it's on sale, and they ship it to an inmate, why not?
Yeah, exactly.
Book, it can be anybody's book, right?
Right. Yeah. No, I love it. I think it's a fabulous opportunity to bless others while you're also helping and I just want people to be aware, Eddie, we say this all the time. Please write Amazon reviews for books that you have enjoyed because a purchase and an Amazon review help a book come up out of the pond, show its face like a periscope for a little few seconds, and then go back down where it's in an ocean with millions of other books. So the Amazon review, purchasing a book like this, it's just an opportunity for the book to surface, people to realize that it's available until it goes back, back into the unknown. So I want to encourage writers to remember. So many people say, "Oh, I just love this book I read." And I said, "Did you write a review?" Yeah. No, I didn't. Please go write a review.
So if I was going to close up on this topic, the only other thing I would add is that because this has changed the way I write now, because I've got a different market than what I had before. I've got the same market, but I've got an additional market that I'm now writing for, that I'm looking at. So we've talked about memoirs in the past, writing your family story, your history story. Hey, guess what? If you write a short history of memoir, like you've got 3 or 4 events in your life that were kind of funny or memorable or poignant or whatever, and you're in the past, you're going, well, I could write it, but who's going to read it? These people will read it. This is your market. So if you've got that memoir, you could write your memoir, add your little bit of the salvation message at the end, the come to Jesus kind of thing. Put it up on Amazon in a paperback version for less than $4.99 or less, and start having those shipped into prisons. I mean, this is now you suddenly got a memoir that's got a market. People are going to go, I don't know who Diana Flegel was, but I've read about her family, that kind of thing. So this is another.
And I love that, because I'm thinking of the Jesus Revolution movie that was just out, and how much of that movie was my personal testimony. I was a Jesus freak during that Jesus People movement and participated in some of those events, and how that has, just to be able to testify in a short little book of my personal journey and how faithful God's been to me through the years, even though I've screwed up. I'm twice divorced. I never, ever thought I would be. It's something I'm not proud of at all. But here I am. But if I share that testimony with others, maybe it's going to encourage somebody else to think, well, she's a Christian, and God still obviously loves her, and she failed. So, I can see where that would really be a powerful thing to write and then get into the prisons with, because a lot of people in bars and in prisons don't believe that God could ever hear their prayer or their cry, because they feel they've done something that their sin has separated them from God. We know that, but they don't realize that Christ is waiting to be in relationship with them. They think they have to clean up their act first, and they struggle to do that. And so I love that idea, Eddie, that you shared there about sharing our personal stories and getting them into book form.
Well, thank you for inviting me to talk about this today. Again, it's on my heart. It's a passion, so I appreciate it. All right.
That's great. Yeah. So we'll see y'all next week. Have a great week, everybody. Bye-bye.